Guys, we're here to talk about SEC expansion. Luke just did a video and he talked about the teams that he thinks would do well to join the SEC or would benefit the SEC if they join. And what I'm going to do is I want to talk about which two teams I believe would be very good fits in the SEC. Now, if you didn't watch Luke's video, you can go back and watch that before you watch this. I guess it doesn't matter what order you watch it in. But I'm going to tell you why I think Luke uh, didn't make the best choices and why I think that I've made a couple of better selections for which team should be added to the SEC. So, first off, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go with the obvious choice. And to me, the obvious choice is Clemson. Just what Clemson's done in football in the last 5 or 6 years has really put them at the top of the football world, up there with, I hate to say it, up there with Alabama and up with Georgia. Uh, Even perhaps better than those programs. Probably not, but it's a possibility. And I think that they add just another level of toughness to the SEC that I think if, and I don't know if we talked about keeping divisions East and West, but it'll kind of bring more balance to the SEC, I believe, to have a team like Clemson that can take on kind of the load Georgia's carrying in the East right now, and it'll elevate the competition level in the SEC. I think one problem in the SEC is that with Alabama, it's become pretty top heavy in that teams are afraid to compete with them. All teams are. So I think bringing in Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M, and then bringing in a juggernaut like Clemson will help elevate the entire SEC and not have it be the Alabama and maybe Georgia show with another team guest starring now and then. So I think for the overall health of the conference, putting in Clemson will be of great benefit to the SEC. Now, my second choice to add to the SEC, I'm going to go to the Big 12 like Luke did. He picked both Oklahoma and West Virginia, but I'm going with a different Big 12 team. I believe the Texas Longhorns belong in the SEC. And here's why: a great long football tradition. They've been playing football there and doing it at a high level for a long time. Let's not forget that who did Alabama knock off to win their first national title was Texas. And, Texas hasn't been back since, but being in the SEC, I think, can help elevate your level of play. I think they're slowly getting back to where they used to be. And I think being part of the SEC would be helpful to them. They bring in a lot of money. They bring in a very big television market in Austin and the whole state of Texas, really, more than what just Texas A&M by itself brings in. And that's why I think Texas. Besides that, Texas is great in other sports. They always have a very good basketball team, and they always compete well in other sports, much like Oklahoma does that Luke talked about. And so I think Texas would be a great addition to the SEC. Now, one thing I want to address that Luke talked about, and I'll get to the dark horse in just a second, but one thing that Luke talked about was adding Oklahoma and West Virginia, and the reason he wanted to add those teams is because they would add new states into the SEC, and they would add new markets to the SEC. And I did not do that. Obviously, Clemson's in the state of South Carolina, and South Carolina already has uh, the University of South Carolina, the SEC, and then Texas A&M being added to the SEC means that the state of Texas is covered. However, I don't think that I place the importance. I don't think there's much importance in adding the state of West Virginia to the SEC market. I think SEC already has the biggest market there is, and I don't think that people in West Virginia would really bring, or the market in West Virginia, I should say, would really bring a whole lot of benefit to the SEC. And I think that the University of Texas would do more to bring in more viewers in Texas and the Southwest than Oklahoma would. Oklahoma, I don't think. I think they may bring in the whole state or a large portion of the state of Oklahoma, but I think there's more viewers in Texas Longhorns that are kind of a national brand. And with Clemson's prominence now, they're becoming a national brand as well. And I don't think that state by state and regional is the best way to think of conferences. Also, just for traveling purposes and things like that, we're already going out to Texas. Austin's not a whole lot further than College Station, but they will be the furthest out west of the SEC teams. But I think if we want to establish a strong foothold in the state of Texas, play championship games out there, and have SEC media days out there, then a stronger presence in just Texas A&M is necessary. And Clemson's inclusion speaks for itself. A couple dark horse teams I think that could be included in the SEC. I think Florida State is a logical choice. Add a second school from the state of Florida to the SEC. Uh, Rich tradition in football and basketball, and they bring in another part of Florida into the SEC market, and I think Florida State would be a decent choice. I don't think that they fit as well in the SEC or do as much to benefit the SEC as Clemson or Texas, and that's why they're not in that choice for me. But I think Florida State would be a great addition too. There was one more I think I mentioned to Luke, but I can't recall it right now. But I think the ACC has a couple of teams that I would put on the cusp of being worthy to be part of the SEC, such as Virginia or Virginia Tech, or I think Luke mentioned for basketball purposes in North Carolina or Duke. I think the ACC more naturally, especially geographically, fits with the SEC. But if we look at the total benefits that they can bring for the conference, I think that the two best choices to join the SEC once again are Clemson and Texas. No offense to West Virginia, I've always liked West Virginia, and no offense to Oklahoma, I've always disliked Oklahoma, but I don't want to offend them. And I think that with these two teams, the SEC can be strong as it can be if we're going to go to a 16 team system. So let us know what you think. You can subscribe and comment, and we'll be happy to reply. Or if you have any questions or ideas for other topics, we'll be glad to see those as well. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know how wrong Luke is and how correct I am, and we will see you next time.